On the 1st of October 2011, police find a dead body in a small town in Moldova, country neighboring Russia. However, what was strange of the body was that not even a single bruise, gun wound, or anything relating to a murder was found on the man's body. Police also found identification documents in the man's pockets, and, through the help of the man's passport and ID that was found on him, it was revealed that the dead body was that of Igor Vorontinov. But Vorontinov wasn't exactly dead. In fact, he was very much alive, as you'll find out in this video. This is the story of how Igor and his ex-wife tried to commit life insurance fraud to the value of $2 million by faking his death. We all need money to survive, so it's safe to say that money is a need. But what happens when it becomes a want? Well, you work for it. But not everyone is honest. Some people would rather take the quicker route and resort to other ways of making money: house break-ins, rob a bank, steal a car, or if you really want to stand out from the rest of the crowd, why not take up a life insurance policy and fake your own death? I mean, it's foolproof. Just take up a life insurance policy, find someone you trust and make them the beneficiary. Fake some sort of accident that results in your death. Make up some sort of replica of yourself while you hide. Get your beneficiary to claim the money, then change your identity. Live under the radar, then boom, you're an instant millionaire. Well, it's not that easy as Vorontinov thought, or alternatively as the rules of the universe contend. The truth will be bound to come out. Igor Vorontinov and his wife, Irina Vorontinov, allegedly tried to conspire life insurance fraud where Igor would fake his death, and once the insurance paid, they would split the money among themselves. After police discovered Vorontinov's body, his wife was notified by the police that her husband was dead. She then went to Moldova to identify the body and then returned to the US where she lived, returning with a death certificate and an urn of her husband's ashes. However, she told authorities in the US that she wanted to cremate his remains in Ukraine. So the following month, Igor's wife arranged a relatively large funeral attended by the local community. On November 4, 2011, she arranged his funeral at Lakewood Cemetery in Minneapolis, attended widely by members of the local Russian community who knew Igor well, according to federal prosecutors. A few days after Igor's funeral, Irina Vorontinov submitted a claim for Igor Vorontinov's life insurance policy, which paid her $2 million as she was the sole beneficiary. And that is when their son comes into the picture. Vorontinov then recruited a third party to open a bank account and deposit the check, the release said. She then had the person transfer $1.5 million into a different account that was in the name of her son. And according to SW News Media, between March 2012 and January 2015, more than $1.5 million of the life insurance money was transferred to accounts in Switzerland and Moldova. Their two sons found out about their scheme and saw pictures of their father living an extravagant life. Igor's son eventually made frequent trips to Moldova where his father was, and with that came their downfall, as stated by the Washington Post. Alkin continued making the trips to Moldova to visit his father, telling prosecutors that at one point his mother joined him there for a New Year's celebration at the end of 2012. But eventually the repeated vacations would catch the attention of investigators. On June 18, 2013, the FBI received an anonymous tip from someone in Moldova claiming that Igor Vorontinov was alive, living under the fake name of Nikolai Patoka in Ukraine or Moldova. Now who knows what Vorontinov was doing with the money? I assume he was living a life of luxury, driving fancy cars, purchasing extravagant homes, taking expensive trips and all that, because otherwise how would someone snitch that he was alive? He must have been doing something that made him noticeable to someone, or maybe he already had someone spying on him from the beginning. That's up to you to decide, but one thing is certain, that Vorontinov made himself noticeable, and police were on his tail. The next time Alkin, that is Vorontinov's son, and his fiancée returned to the United States from Moldova in November 2013, U.S. Customs and Border Protection detained the couple and confiscated their belongings. It was clear now that authorities knew that Vorontinov was alive. Agents seized a computer with photos of Igor Vorontinov that were taken in April and May 2013, proving he was alive. Authorities found pictures of Igor posing with his granddaughter and also him playing with her in the swimming pool. So it was clear that Vorontinov was indeed not dead. Igor Vorontinov along with his son and wife were living a lavish lifestyle, but he was no longer Igor Vorontinov. He was now Nikolai Padok, the persona and identity he had created. Now Igor would have probably never been found if not for his son's frequent vacations and trips to Moldova, which raised authorities' suspicions. The craziest part is how Igor tried to cover up the scheme. After his son was arrested, he tried to contend his innocence by meeting up with prosecutors and putting his father on the phone. The scheme was obviously set up in such a way to make Irina innocent. On the phone call, Igor claimed that his friends in Moldova faked his death without his knowledge, then kidnapped him as part of a conspiracy to steal all the life insurance money. Igor and Alkin claimed the kidnappers demanded ransom money from Alkin, that the entire scheme was the kidnappers' plan and that Irina had nothing to do with it, which prosecutors called palpably ridiculous. It was also discovered that the ashes in the urn Vorontinov's wife planned to cremate were not his, although it's not clear whose ashes she used or whose dead body was used to fake Igor's death. The scariest part is that police did indeed confirm that the man was dead, and when forensics investigated the body, it was found that the man had died as a result of a heart attack. So it's possible that Vorontinov and his wife may have used an already deceased body. Vorontinov was eventually arrested in 2018 and pled guilty to mail fraud and extradited to the US, where he is expected to serve 3 years in prison. As for his wife, Irina Vorontinov, of Plymouth, was convicted in 2016 of 1 count of mail fraud and 1 count of engaging in a monetary transaction in criminally derived property. She was sentenced to a little more than 3 years in prison. And as for his son, Alkin was convicted of misprision of a felony, and in 2016 he was sentenced to 3 years of probation. He and Irina Vorontinov were ordered to jointly pay a little more than $2 million in restitution. This just goes to show what people are willing to do for cash. Unfortunately, Vorontinov and his accomplices let their greed cloud their judgment, and their actions ultimately landed them in legal trouble. Remember, it's never worth it to break the law in pursuit of wealth.